The 19th Amendment prohibits the federal and state governments from denying United States citizens with the right to vote based on their sex. Originally introduced in Congress in 1878 by Senator Aaron A. Sargent, 41 years later, in 1919, Congress submitted it to the states for ratification. Adopted on August 18, 1920, the 19th Amendment was the culmination of the women's suffrage movement in the United States. The 19th Amendment effectively overruled Minor v. Happersett, in which a unanimous Supreme Court ruled that the 14th Amendment did not give women the right to vote. Many American women were beginning to chafe against what historians have called the cult of true womanhood, or the cult of domesticity. That is the idea that the only true woman was a pious, submissive wife and mother concerned exclusively with home and family.
During the making of early American government, the founders did not take into consideration women's suffrage, failing to give them fundamental rights like male citizens, such as legal claim to earn money, the right to own property, and the right to vote.
I have two views, two sides of the same coin I think we can look at, is that with the revolution, the United States had the opportunity to create a new kind of society based on ideals of equality that Jefferson talked about, and came up short in a lot of fundamental ways, specifically with race and gender. Justice deferred is justice denied, as Martin Luther King said. But it did plant the seeds of in some ways, an even greater revolution that happened in the mid-20th century.
The 19th Amendment helped millions of women close the gender gap in not just voting, but all aspects of American life. The women's suffrage movement promoted job opportunities, fair wages, education, and healthcare.
The fight for the right to vote was known as the women's suffrage movement. Starting in 1848, women created the NWSA, which was the National Women's Suffrage Association, with the intention to win the right to vote.
Which that's widely accepted. Women's place in the workforce would be different. Be, I think, harder for them to assume positions of power and authority. But I think in our history, those things have gone together. One of the reasons why feminism emerged was that women were already in the workforce and were already playing important roles in the economy, whether it's during times of war, and there's been lots of social developments related to that. But yeah, I think one of the good things about it is it's hard to imagine. Hard to imagine it not happening. But it's also
The 19th Amendment directly affects today's society by allowing women to take laws into their own hands that directly affect them, such as abortion and birth control. The Trump administration is trying to disband and change the birth control requirements, making it very hard for women to access birth control.
October the 10th. For our next hour, we are looking for women in the audience to give us your opinion on the Trump administration's decision to roll back a key feature of Obamacare that mandated employers to offer birth control in their health insurance plans. The administration argued that the mandate infringed on companies that objected to offer these products due to religious or moral reasons. And critics say that many women will be affected by companies who decide to opt out of offering birth control coverage. So for our first hour this morning, we'll talk about this decision by the Trump administration and ask women in the audience to give us your thoughts. And here's how you can let us know.
I think that women being able to vote kind of caused some major shifts in our political landscape. Soon after women were able to vote, prohibition was enacted into effect. And as we know from history, crime rates rose. What I did was because women campaigned very hard and were able to vote to say that they didn't want alcohol to be legal.
The reason why this provision was not added to the amendment in the making of it was because the founders believed that women only had a pivotal role in the private sphere of home life. They did not believe that they had the political backings to make cohesive decisions in government.
I don't think it's important for everyone in this society to be able to vote. Some people use their vote as a throwaway vote, like especially in this past election. You can see that tens of millions of people voted for a third-party candidate just to throw away their vote. It kind of turned the election on its head and changed the outcome of who was elected. It just kind of giving everyone the right to vote, especially those who aren't intelligent enough or informed enough to be able to make decisions about something that affects the country so deeply, it just kind of isn't needed.
Another large way that the 19th Amendment has shaped the nation as a whole is it has changed the demographics of voting. The number of consecutive presidential elections in which a larger percentage of eligible voters have been women compared to eligible men have been back since 1980. The number of consecutive presidential elections in which the majority of women have voted for Democratic candidates from 1992 to 2008. Overall, the most importance of the 19th Amendment was the spark of the women's suffrage movement in total. For this, it called for the community of women to get involved in parliamentary elections at levels observed at all levels, such as poll works and protest, as well as encouraging women to work in campaigns and then run for public office. This encourages women to move up in the political spectrum, raising expectations that they cannot only achieve equality in voting, but also in the government as leaders.